Hello and welcome to No Such Thing as a Bad Movie podcast. I'm April Hitmansky and I'm here today with
Judge Justin DeClue.
Oh, and Judge Colin Cunningham.
And I'm also a Judge at Mansky. I forgot to.
Wait,
So
to
is Judge your first name?
Wait,
yeah. Judge Reinhold?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Now presiding.
Okay, so we had two movies. We had one movie today that was a listener request movie, and then I decided to make it a judge theme, which is not something that probably anyone has ever done before.
Never.
No.
A judge-themed, I guess, bad movie podcast.
night?
We're going to get thousands of listeners to this.
Yeah.
People who have judge in their, like,
all
Google hit or whatever.
All the judge fanatics have been waiting for this.
I should have said that I was Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, I mean,
Anyway.
we already made a Judge Reinhold joke. We only
Yeah.
get one per episode. That's it.
Yeah. Anyway, so the winner for the listener request bad movie lottery was David, and so their movie was The Life and Times of Judge Roy Bean from 1972.
Point of order. This movie is 2 hours long.
That's true. We said 2 hours. We said under 2 hours, but it's right on the cusp.
Wait,
All right, I'm going to make some
Justin-
amendments
yeah.
to the Constitution
Yeah.
of the...
I remember Justin texted me. It was like the both of us, and it was like a close up of the running time, and
It
it was
said
2
2
hours.
hours.
That's a lie.
It's right on the edge. But
That's why I love
yeah.
to live.
So this is a movie that I'm guessing most people haven't heard of, but it has a lot of famous people in it. Paul Newman, Anthony Perkins,
Nate Beatty.
Roddy McDowell, Stacy Keach.
Oh, very briefly
I
in
know.
albino makeup.
And
Yeah, he's
Ava
great.
Gardner's in it briefly. And
I mean, it's a John Huston joint, the man who gave us such classics as African Queen, Annie.
Treasure of Sierra Madre.
Yeah, that's right. The Dead. I'm trying to think of his bad movies.
The Maltese Falcon.
Yes, that's not one of his bad ones.
No.
I mean, John Huston was a guy. He was like the ultimate journeyman who could deliver a great film, but could also phone it in like
Yeah.
it was nobody's business.
Oh, you know what he also gave us? Angelica Houston.
That's right.
And
Danny Houston.
Danny Houston,
Who does
yeah.
one hell of a John Huston impersonation.
Does he really?
Yeah, he actually dubs his father in The Other Side of the Wind, the film that John Huston
Really?
stars in. Yep, the Orson Welles film that was
Oh, that's
recently
great.
released on Netflix.
Danny Houston, most listeners,
Viewers.
most listeners
Yeah,
would
if
know.
you pay the $1,000 Patreon, you get to see into us recording.
yeah, they would know
At all
him,
times.
They would know him as Stryker from X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Yes,
Oh.
that's where they would know Danny Houston
Yeah.
as
no,
Stryker.
that's what I know him from. So he is a Houston. I thought it was
He's
just. I
Houston.
thought he just had the same last
And he's like
name.
the bad guy in Wonder Woman, I think, too.
Yeah, he is.
No,
Yeah,
that
he
was
is. He's
David
one of the Germans.
Thewlis.
No.
Oh, there were two bad guys.
Yeah,
Right,
he's
yeah.
the German bad guy. And
Yeah.
then, spoilers for Wonder Woman.
David-
David
Thewlis.
a good guy?
I'm David Thewlis.
Oh my God, he's here in the room.
Spoilers
Oh,
for Wonder Woman.
Okay, so Judge Roy Bean, this is a terrible movie,
No,
right?
I wouldn't say it's a terrible movie. It's
Wait, why are we doing it on this
it's-
podcast then?
I don't know. This is too good,
Yeah.
kind of, for this movie.
I mean, the
for
listener
this
actually
content.
said that it's one of his favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
And this actually brings up that recently I was talking on another podcast. I know, I have to tell you guys, I have other ones. I'm sorry.
I could have sworn you've never mentioned that before. I
Nope,
don't know.
never.
I think I
Is
would've
that
heard
every movie is someone's favorite movie?
Yeah, it's true.
I
yeah.
guess so.
Because watching Judge Roy Bean, I don't think anyone would say this is one of my favorites. But you were looking on IMDb and there's tons of
All the reviews are like
Positive
9 out of
reviews,
10,
yeah.
10 out
Yeah.
of 10.
Older
I think,
people,
I think it's
think.
it's one of those things that if
Boomer
you-
Town.
Okay, Boomer.
Well, it's undeniable that an older crowd would probably get more out of this movie.
Male.
Sure, yeah.
Perhaps, but also people
What do you
who
mean?
are
The women aren't going to be swooning over Paul Newman?
Yeah, okay, so we didn't even give the plot of this movie because
Well,
it stars
also-
Paul Newman.
I also wanted to say one of Paul Newman's favorite movies. This was
yeah.
his passion project.
What about Road to Perdition?
Oh, I like that movie.
Yeah, he's pretty good in that.
He's great in that movie.
Coming soon, 1917, directed by the director of Road to Perdition, Sam Mendes.
Yeah.
I'm all about advertising now. All these people have paid me to talk about these things.
You have another podcast, the Sam Mendes
The
podcast.
Sam Mendes podcast.
It's the Mendes, I don't know, hoedown, because he loves dancing. You wouldn't know about that from the guy who made Skyfall.
It's weird. Skyfall.
Yeah, you gotta listen to it.
Skyfall and Spectre. Was there any dancing in Spectre?
So much dancing.
I remember,
No dancing in American Beauty.
Well, they did hire Christoph Waltz.
Yeah,
Wah,
that's
wah,
right.
wah.
Oh, have you been listening to my Mendes cast? All right, so what is this movie about, April?
Well, apparently it's based on a true story, but it's like a folk tale, if you will. There's like a little thing at the beginning that's like, these things are said to have happened. Who knows if they really happened?
I mean, the Judge Roy Bean was an actual historical character, and he was a terrible human being, racist, sexist, just awful.
Yeah,
Murderer.
loved hanging people.
Well, supposedly he only hung one person,
Oh,
but
okay.
after he passed away, he was known as a hanging judge.
Okay.
Gosh, in this movie, there's a hanging about every 5 minutes, if
Yeah.
not more. So he
The Joel Silver rule, hanging every 5 pages.
So he arrives at this little town, and apparently he's like wanted by the law.
Yeah, he's an outlaw at the beginning of the
Yeah,
movie.
and so then a bunch of people hang him. They try to hang him by a horse, and they don't succeed. And so he goes back and kills everybody in this like little whorehouse, I guess. And then he decides, I'm going to make my own town and hang everybody I want to. And he does.
Yep.
This is the hero of our film.
Yep.
He basically kidnaps like a Mexican lady, and but she's into it, so it's okay.
Yeah.
She. This is Victoria Principal. I think this is like her first role ever.
I don't know who that is.
She was she on Falcon Crest or something?
Okay.
I think she was.
I have heard of her.
It was a Dynasty. I can't remember. Anyway, she's a big TV actress, but this was like her first role.
Did you watch Dynasty, Colin?
No, I didn't.
Oh, okay. You were more of a wait. What's that
It was
one?
more of a Dallas.
Dallas.
man.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dallas. That's, Who Shot Jr.
Oh my God, that was like a phenomenon at the time.
Was it Who Shot Jr.?
Who Shot JR? Everybody was. I was talking about it, and I didn't even watch the show.
And then you're like, it was all a dream.
Yeah.
So then a bunch of kind of hijinks happen, kind of.
Very episodic movie.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
gonna say
it's-
there's really
yeah.
not one like major plot thread. It's just what kind of happens as he develops this town over time. And there's like 2 or 3 like very large jumps forward, and they like worship a poster of a lady in a very weird, almost Jesus-like way.
Specifically Paul Newman.
Well, everybody gets into it.
Into it, yeah.
though,
Didn't you have a poster in your room, April, that you loved and you worshipped at all times?
Well, not worshipped, but
Okay, what was your favorite poster on the wall?
I had a Marilyn Manson.
You know what? That's not that bad.
Not
Colin?
really.
What, in my room?
Yeah, RoboCop up on the wall? or-
Yeah, I had RoboCop.
I also had a giant Donnie Darko one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I had RoboCop, Predator,
Corky Romano.
Predator,
Predator,
and
that's
Probably Indiana Jones, I would say.
Indiana Jones and the Temple
Yeah.
of Doom. I had my Raiders one up for a while. I've now got them hanging in my
Scarface.
my living room here. No, God.
No, you're only the cool things.
Yeah.
What
Last
about-
Starfighter.
What about you, Justin?
Space Hunter and the Forbidden Zone. Me, did I have posters? My mom every Christmas would get me like a Lord of the Rings poster. She'd get framed, and that would just go up on my. I had some Star Wars ones as well, like the original painted
okay.
posters.
Yeah, yeah.
So I had those, but that was pretty much it. I had a Rules of Attraction poster of all the Beanie Babies having sex with each other. That was inside my locker, and I
that's
think it was
funny.
the only thing inside my locker.
That was your boner poster.
Yeah,
And you're
that's
like,
right.
yeah.
When I need a little bit of a pick me up during classes.
I don't
classes.
remember Beanie Babies being in Rules of Attraction.
No, there isn't.
It
But
was
there was
just
like a
the
teaser
advertising.
poster. It was just like a
Oh.
bunch of
I remember
them in
Like,
sex positions.
this is what's happening in the movie, but we
Yeah.
can't show you. Wow, that's lame.
So
So
Judge
this
Roy
would-
Bean, a bunch of stuff happens. And what was your favorite part, Colin?
Well, it's got to be the performances, and I think, look, this movie lives and dies on Paul Newman's performance.
Almost like a John Huston impersonation.
Yeah, he's very
Maybe.
kind of.
He's talking low in his voice, and he has a John Huston beard.
Yeah, John Huston actually shows up in this movie as Grizzly Adams. If any of you have
Grizzly
seen, it was Daniel Day-Lewis's impersonation of John Huston in There Will Be Blood.
Yes, that's right.
And he kind of talked like this, you see. Blah, 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 blah.
Oh, I mean, everyone's seen Chinatown, so you've seen
of
John
course.
Huston.
There we go, yeah.
Coming soon to Netflix, prequel directed by David Fincher.
Oh, Jesus.
Whoa.
So Paul Newman, you're right. Like it lives and dies on him because it is such a sprawling kind of meandering story.
And he's such a piece of shit, horrible, awful person.
It's so bad
to everybody. If it didn't have somebody this charming, kind of like.
But he's a jerk.
I know, but
that's the idea is that you get somebody that everybody associates. Look at those kind eyes.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you get it.
And
him acting like a jerk.
Exactly. It's like we were talking about Staying Alive. He was such an asshole, but it's like,
so
he's got that Travolta charm, and it kind of carries him through. If it wasn't him, he'd be a psychopath. And this movie was written by John Milius.
Speaking of psychopaths, actually, every time I hear John Milius' name, I feel bad because he had a stroke, right?
Yeah, recently.
And he lost his ability to speak and read.
Yeah, I heard about that. There's like a documentary on him that I haven't seen.
I think it's
just
called Milius.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
but
it's a good one.
He's like a larger than life character. He was like I think it was like American Zoetrope with Francis Ford Coppola.
Yeah, he's a guy that was like right-wingish, like he loved like guns and the army, even though he's a guy that was never in the army.
Yeah. Kind of like Ted Nugent.
Yeah. He wrote the original draft of Apocalypse Now when him and George Lucas were going to go to the jungles of Vietnam to make it.
He's like a loud, boisterous kind of character. And literally, John Goodman's character in The Big Lebowski was based on him.
Yeah.
Looks exactly like him.
You know that... Seth Rogen plays him in Zeroville, the James Franco film.
Really?
That's based on a book that like John Milius is a main character. But he's never called by his name. He's known as the Viking.
That's funny. So he was kind of set to direct this movie, and I don't think he'd ever directed before this. And then the studio realized like, we don't kind of trust you with this. So we're gonna buy you out. They paid him like $300,000, gave it to John Huston,
which is weird because John Milius would go on to direct a pretty epic. His first film was that Sean Connery one, I believe. I forget what it's called. It's kind of like Lawrence of Arabia ish. Pulpy. It's like something.
The Man Who Would Be King.
No, The Man Who Would Be King was directed by John Huston.
Was it really?
I get those two confused.
The Michael Caine.
No, it's another one. It's like The Sword and the Horse or something like that. I can't remember what it is. Someone's like typing incessantly. You don't need to let us know.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But. Yeah, John Milius is also known for writing 1941, which I do want to do in December.
And writing and directing Conan the Barbarian.
And Red Dawn.
Right, yeah.
And then he did like a bunch of other ones like Flight of the Intruder, and he did like a Nick Nolte one that nobody really cares about. But he was part of like that movie brat gang.
Yeah, for sure. It was like him, Scorsese, Lucas, Spielberg, Francis Ford Coppola.
This movie is definitely an extension of like Milius's persona, which is like just kind of, boisterous men's men.
Yeah.
Especially at one point the narration's like, and then women got the vote and everything went to hell.
So that movie was called Farewell to the King.
Farewell to the King.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Groovy.
Originally, he had written it for Lee Marvin, which I can totally see.
Well, he would have been.
He runs that line.
You got any more paint? Yeah, pick up a can.
I love Lee Marvin. He's very charismatic.
You paint your wagon.
Yeah.
Oh God. Save it for another musical episode.
So apparently he gave the script to Lee Marvin. Lee Marvin was in a movie at the time with Paul Newman, and Lee Marvin was supposed to read the script, got drunk and passed out, and
Classic Lee Marvin.
And Paul Newman found the script and loved it and petitioned for this role, and the studio was like, yeah. So John Milius hated the movie, hated what John
really?
Yeah.
I wonder what would have been different.
Movie.
He said it was supposed to be more gritty, and he hated the fact that they got this baby blue-eyed Paul Newman
cutesy,
pretty boy,
fan-loving person.
Yeah, it was supposed to be
fan-loving person.
Sorry, the fans love him.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Not that he loves fans.
He loves his fans too. Haven't you seen Newman's Own?
He said that they turned it into this pretty boy Beverly Hills Western, where he wanted it to be about this sort of unflinching bastard, that kind of forged the Old West, and
I mean, because that's what the whole thesis of the film is this guy created the West as we know it, and then he went beyond it, but still tried to hold on.
He was, the Western time was kind of ending. He was like a man.
He's a man's man, if you will.
Yeah, exactly.
What was your favorite part, April?
Well, before I get into that, I just want to say I think that maybe the reason this movie didn't really connect with me is that I just don't watch Westerns.
Oh, I love Westerns.
I thought today, I bet I could count. I bet I've seen less than 10 Westerns in my life. So you know what I did today? I made a list of all the Westerns that I could remember seeing. And I'm going to read it right now.
I thought you said you were going to make a list that you were going to then watch.
No. So these are all the Westerns that I can remember seeing.
5 of them are John Carpenter films.
Bone Tomahawk.
Yep.
True Grit, the newer one, the Coen Brothers one. Ballad of Buster Scruggs. Django Unchained, Duel in the Sun, Bad Day at Black Rock.
Duel in the Sun? When did you watch Duel in the Sun?
Film School. This
Oh,
next
okay.
couple. Bad Day at Black Rock, Film School. McCabe and Mrs. Miller. That was at Film
kind of
School.
a Western.
Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Wild Wild West.
yeah.
West.
And Cannibal the Musical.
And which one?
Cannibal
Cannibal
the
few,
Musical.
like, I think shaky ones on there.
Okay.
That's
More
10.
Western.
That's 10.
There's not even one spaghetti Western in that.
I know.
A Fistful of Dollars.
So by that, I mean to say, I'm not sure I really get like what like tropes and like themes are common to this genre. So when this movie, I think, was trying to kind of either play to them or subvert them or make fun of them, I'm not sure I got it, because there were a lot of scenes where I couldn't tell if it was supposed to be funny or not.
I think it's supposed to be funny. I think it's supposed to be like silly. And
Yeah.
like what you're seeing, it's kind of exaggerated.
I wasn't too sure though.
This is like in the time where it was all the revisionist westerns, like McCabe and Mrs. Miller, and like Clint Eastwood was even making stuff like High Plains Drifter, which had like more of a supernatural angle to things.
Oh, yeah, he was like the devil or
Yeah, he was the
something.
devil
Yeah, that's right.
of someone that had been killed. And it's kind of like taking what people had known for like decades before that and just
Yeah.
kind of like deconstructing, like, this is how it really is. It's kind of like a joke most of the time.
Yeah, it was kind of like a satire, and like the humor, like tonally, it was kind of a little
All over the place.
All over
Well,
the
at
place.
the end, it's just like straight up, like shoot 'em up.
Yeah.
The last scene, and
then
I
it's
was like,
like-
well, where's the comedy in this?
Yeah, it's like kind of satirical in parts, and then it's pretty bloody at the beginning when he
And
goes
then
in and
there's,
kills
like,
everybody.
Funny,
Yeah.
Then there's like funny music playing while it's
Yeah, there
happening,
is.
so it's totally a little
I mean,
strange.
Speaking of funny music,
Funny music.
Oh yeah,
we have a montage. This was like a few years after Butch Cassidy and Sundance
It
Kid.
was, yeah.
So, and this is another
Raindrops are falling on my head.
So everybody knows the famous kind of montage sequence in that when he's riding around on the bicycle to raindrops keep falling on my head. This is another thing that John Milius hated was they try to recreate that for some reason in this movie, and they have a horrible Andy Williams song.
It's called Marmalade, Molasses, and Honey.
Yes. And
How does it go? I don't remember.
I don't know.
It was
It's
when
like,
they go on the little like picnic montage with the bear.
Marmalades, molasses, and honey, put it in your mouth.
Nominated for an Oscar.
Wow.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
best song.
Listen, best original song is a thing where it's like, who wrote original songs this year?
Yeah, it's probably
I guess
two.
we're gonna give it to this.
This is all
Yeah.
that came out. But anyway, my favorite part is, of course, the bear. Maybe the
Bart the
best
bear?
Yeah, maybe the best character in the movie.
I think it was Bruno the bear.
Bruno the bear.
Yep.
The bear is on IMDb.
Bart's kind of rambunctious uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know what happened. There was like a carriage of animals, and that was that Grizzly Adams.
Grizzly Adams, yeah. John Huston, I think he gifts the bear
I thought
to
the bear
Paul
just
Newman.
fell off the back, and then
Right.
he drove
Just
away.
like bears do.
Yeah,
they
so
do.
this bear, I hope it wasn't mistreated on set. I know it was a long time ago.
No, it was Hollywood. It wasn't that long ago. They probably had like PETA and stuff like that.
Okay,
keeping
good.
track.
Because this bear is very well trained, and it is like rolled off the carriage and then like tumbled and then like got up, and like Paul Newman is like talking to it, and then later it gets drunk and it's like drinking out of beer bottles with two hands. Well, Paul Newman punches it at one point.
Yeah.
But it was really
John
funny.
Milius
It was
loves
really
his
funny.
heroes punching animals.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like he's like yelling right in its face, and like Paul Newman really like went there. That
Yeah.
bear was like right up in his face.
I'm sure, yeah,
screaming.
it's probably very well trained. This
could
is
have been
the same bear that was in a TV show called Gentle Ben.
Oh, the same bear?
Yeah, the same bear.
Never think
Starring,
of that Simpsons joke.
starring
No, Ben, no. It's like how we talk to our cat.
What is this, like Gentle Ben? And he's like a talk show host.
Yeah, and he goes for the craft services table.
Ooh, we're
Yeah.
having technical difficulties. What would you do if Colin showed up and he's like, I got a bear? He's like, I just picked him off the street. Very well trained. And he like looks at you, it's very cute.
you-
And then when you leave the room, it's like, I'm not really a bear. I'm a man in a bear suit.
But it's be more likely that he brought home a capybara, because we had capybaras loose in Toronto.
Yeah, that was true,
a couple
two of
years
them.
ago.
Oh yeah, because they escaped from the that
The zoo.
shitty zoo.
They kind of
zoo.
look like bears.
And then everyone, as soon as they heard that, are Googling what the hell a capybara is.
Kind of like big rats. But anyway, I would recommend looking up a supercut of the bear scenes of this movie if it exists on YouTube.
Well, if it doesn't, April's got to do it.
Yeah, because I hate to spoil it, but the bear does not survive the movie, and it's really sad.
Yeah, I know. Don't worry. I made the entry in doesthebearsurvive.com.
Yeah, but the bear was great, and it was a great character. It just, what I thought was kind of funny is that he killed like a bajillion people up until this point, and they just get like wooden crosses, but the bear gets like a stone effigy that probably took months to make.
That's very funny.
It was cute.
My favorite part is definitely the Red Dead Redemption time jump at the end of the movie.
Oh,
where
yeah.
I'm like, wait, is Judge Dredd being gone?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, he's not. I would have liked it if he would have been gone. That would have been interesting.
It feels like they jump ahead to the 1930s.
Yeah, because I was looking at the time and I'm like, there's still 25 minutes left to this movie.
Yeah, it kind of jumps ahead. He has a baby girl with the Mexican Victoria Principal.
Yeah.
Quote unquote Mexican Victoria Principal.
And then he has a British daughter, funny enough.
yeah. Who is...
She's book learned.
She's like a famous actress.
Jacqueline Bisset.
Yeah, that's right.
Jacqueline Bisset.
And she's,
I'm like, wait
Jacqueline
a minute.
Bisset, she's French, isn't she?
She's English.
Oh.
So I'm like, there's something up with her accent.
I
Like,
knew
looked
she
her
was
up.
British the minute
Yeah,
I
she's
heard
like,
her.
hello, I'm Judge Roy Bean's daughter.
I say, I'm Rose Bean.
She was trying to do a southern accent.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work, but she's very pretty, so I guess who cares?
There you go. Yeah, so that the whole, it kind of jumps ahead, and then now she's the main character.
Yeah,
of
she's the
movie.
main character.
Ned Beatty is still around from, the
Ned Beatty.
Western times.
He took some of that super soldier serum.
Yeah.
And he's gonna live forever. That's a deep cut for anybody who listens to all of our episodes.
And he's like, can you stop the wagon? I'm going to be sick.
I tell you, Ned Beatty, Captain America is the only thing I ever remember seeing him in.
Did you make a list? You're like, these are all the Ned Beatty
He
films I've
said Colin
seen?
said Superman, but I don't remember him being in
Yeah,
that.
Superman
Yeah,
one
he's
and
Gene
two.
Hackman's like bumbling sidekick.
Otis, and in
Don't
Deliverance. Spoiler, he gets raped.
Still
Yes,
haven't
not
seen
bumbling in that one.
Deliverance.
And then you've got Roddy McDowell, who turns out to be the bad guy in the end. He kind of takes over the town.
Yeah, and he like brings the gas people in, right, or oil.
I
Yeah.
love Roddy McDowell.
Yeah, so
He's the
basically
best.
He was good,
this is
yeah.
like about the kind of changing times. So by the time Judge Roy Bean comes back, people are shooting Tommy guns. I don't know. He's like,
They put him in the bear cage.
Do you
And then
know?
he's like, okay.
Do you know that Roddy McDowell narked out a bunch of people because he was famously a film collector, so he would collect film cans, and individuals are supposedly not allowed to have those, or at that time they weren't allowed to like own films. So the police found him, and they're like, "Where you got to tell us who gave you those because they're making pirate copies of them as well." And he just like spilled his guts.
Really?
Yeah, he did.
So did he get off because he
did.
He knocked on everybody
Yep,
else?
he did, and they took away his whole film collection as well.
Oh
so.
man.
you know what? He deserved Shakma.
Shakma!
Over and out.
Shocking audiences everywhere.
Another bit of trivia is Anthony Perkins had an affair with
Victoria Principal.
apparently.
Really?
Yeah, this is like a
Yeah.
very... I'd never seen Anthony Perkins in anything other than Psycho. So this is like an interesting...
Did you make a list?
No, sorry, Psycho and Psycho 2.
What about Psycho 3? And he's also in Psycho 4 in the wraparound segment.
He directed Psycho 3.
Yeah, he did, and he's also in it.
But yeah, so he was famously, I think, gay up to this point and had an affair with Victoria Principal on set.
Yeah, I wonder what the famously is because like you can't. I don't think you could be out in Hollywood in the 1960s.
Well, I think it was like common knowledge.
Common
that
knowledge, but
probably-
obviously, like,
But he
you
wasn't
couldn't-
out
you
in
can't-
any way.
yeah,
Yeah.
not publicly anyway.
But like,
I love Anthony Perkins.
did they get married? Him and Victoria Principal?
No, he
Of course, April. They made love. They must have gotten married.
he ended up marrying some other girl. His,
Yeah.
his son Oz Perkins is now a director.
Yes, he is. He directed
The Black Coat's daughter.
The Black Coat's daughter.
Victoria Principal's son.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they ever had children.
monogamy. We fell in love.
Nothing happened with Victoria Principal.
Yeah, it was a real Chasing Amy style situation.
He's like, I just can't be married to a TV actress.
Yeah, you know that Anthony Perkins wrote The Last of the Sheila? Did you guys ever see that movie?
Yeah.
Him and Stephen Sondheim, because that's like a mystery film, kind of like the upcoming Knives Out. This episode is brought to you by Knives Out. And The Last of the Sheila, Anthony Perkins and Stephen Sondheim would have like mystery games. Like they loved it. That was the thing they loved the most. So they
Really?
adapted one of the games into a movie that came out in the 70s. Yeah, you should check it out. You probably like it.
That sounds fun. Like Clue, kind of.
Yeah, exactly like Clue, like an Agatha Christie mystery. I love Anthony Perkins. He's such like a weird screen presence.
He is, and he's so
Yeah.
weird in this, but he's great. He's really, really good, and he's only on scene for on screen for one scene.
Yeah, and you know, it makes me wonder
long-
because like there's like a playfulness to the movie. And was that President John Milius? Like Anthony Perkins talks to the camera and he like narrates part of the movie.
That there should have been more of that.
Yeah, there should have been
more
more
at the
of that.
beginning, and also there's like, now this might be a Western thing. There's like this like Shakespearean way of talking that's very,
I think
very
so, yeah.
flowery.
Well, that's John Milius through and
Yeah,
through.
probably.
Like he loved that Shakespearean, like baroque, big
like
dialogue.
like I'm gonna have a monologue about something.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
pure Milius.
If you've ever seen Deadwood, the TV show,
Yeah, that's how everybody
that's all
talks.
that is.
Another Western.
Wait, that was also on the list. I watched
another Western. I saw season 1 of Westworld.
Oh
Yeah, that technically
like-
counts as a Western.
sci-fi.
You ever see Future World, the sequel to Westworld, the movie?
No.
Yeah, Yul Brynner didn't come back for that
Is
one.
that Peter Fonda?
I think it's Peter
You
Fonda.
know what? I think Yul Brynner is in it in a dream sequence.
Is he? Oh yeah, you're
There's
right.
like some like sex scene with the lead
Yul
actress.
Brynner's like, yeah.
I got to take my pants off.
So what did you say your favorite part was?
I said the time jump,
the time
where
jump.
suddenly like all these outlaws are just gunning down cops.
Yeah, it's like cowboys and gangsters from like the 1930s, like fighting it up, and there's big explosions.
So at the end of the movie, Ava Gardner shows up, who was
Who's
Miss
like
Lily.
got a headlining credit at the beginning of the movie.
She's in it for five minutes.
Gabbo. We're all waiting for Ava Gardner to show up.
Yeah,
It's true. I
She
kept like
shows up at
watching
the end
it.
and she's like, "Oh, there was a whole town dedicated to me," and then she reads about it, and then it ends.
She's just like she's like a famous. She actually plays like a real person.
Yes, a famous socialite.
Lily Langtree. She was like a singer, producer. That for some reason Roy Bean is like obsessed with her. And has, like, a poster.
Roy Bean is mad. Yes, he was drunk. He was mad at the bear for licking the poster.
Oh, okay.
And then the bear dies. So this is how much he was obsessed with this woman.
Right, and then he goes to see her. He like gets all dolled up and goes to town.
And yeah, he gets taken advantage of and never does get to see her.
Gets robbed by Anthony Zerbe. Or Zerbe.
He was very easily duped in that situation.
Yeah.
Like,
Anthony
some
Zerbe
sketchy
is-
guy's like, "Hey, you want to meet her? Like, come to this dark alley." Yeah.
Anthony Zerbe has been in like a million things, like in the Matrix sequels. He's like the mayor of Zion or whatever the hell you call it.
Zion.
Yeah, he's in like
check my tattoo. I have it right here.
Well, so just a little final thought on Roy Bean. It wasn't my kind of movie, but if you like Westerns, if you like Paul Newman, and if what we have said
how can you
sounds
not like
interesting,
Paul Newman?
I would check it out. I do like Paul Newman, but I'm not like, I don't know. I haven't seen any of his movies.
Yeah.
I saw
Wait, you
Butch-
like Paul
saw
Newman, but
Butch
you haven't
Cassidy.
seen any of his movies.
I know. I love his salad dressing.
This episode is brought to you by Newman's
That's the
Own.
thing. This isn't a bad movie. It's
No,
just
it's not.
it's long and it's a little short on plot, and there's interesting things in it, but I would say it's just not for me because I don't think Westerns are for me in general. But I feel like apparently a lot of people like it. And also, by the way, this was a huge flop at the box office, which is...
John Milius is like, you should have had me as the director.
Yeah, I remember it was one of the reasons listed in IMDb that John Milius became a director was so he could avoid a situation like this. It was for self-defense, so he could like stick up for himself and direct the crew.
I think the title too is just too long. Like people it probably wouldn't even fit on the marquee, and people are like, "What is that?" Like it doesn't say what it is. If it was called
Judge
like
Roy Bean.
if it was called like
JRB.
the hanging judge or something like that, then maybe the hanging judge and the bear. Then
kind of like BJ.
That's a lot more bear, though. It was called The Hanging Judge and the Bear.
That would be amazing. Kind of like BJ and the Bear. Remember that TV show
Nope.
from the 80s?
April, don't say yes because you never watched BJ and the Bear.
Oh, it's from the 80s. I think it was Greg Evigan of Tech War fame. He was a truck driver and he had a monkey sidekick. And
Was there a bear?
the chimp was named Bear.
Oh, okay.
But
that's
so it was called
false
BJ and the
advertising.
Bear.
Okay.
you
Just
go.
for new listeners, when Colin says it was from the 80s, that means that me and April have not seen it because Colin is 30 years older than both of us.
I'm talking to all of the Judge Roy Bean fans out there
That's right.
who
You're looking
probably
at
know
us,
who
but
probably
you're speaking
know
to the audience at large.
who know about all the 60-year-olds and plus.
So the second movie that we watched, what was it, April?
it was about another famous cinematic judge. Possibly the most famous.
Judge Judy?
Judge Doom.
Judge
Judge
Doom.
Dredd.
Judge Dredd.
So scary.
Judge Dredd.
When I saw Judge Doom as a kid, I was like, I can't watch that. Nightmare Town. The tomb that killed your brother.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This one not so scary. It's Sylvester. It's
Look into Sylvester Stallone's eyes.
Yeah,
Sly
his contact
Stallone.
lenses.
Contact lenses. So blue.
So this was a movie, Judge Dredd, 1995, not the good Dredd movie.
No,
Dredd
just
called
3D.
Dredd, which everybody
it was
should
called
watch.
Dredd 3D when it first
Yeah, it was.
Just like Piranha 3DD.
Yeah, that's right. So this is 1995. This is the Sylvester Stallone joint, directed by Danny Cannon.
As the credits say, a Sylvester Stallone joint.
Sylvester Stallone joint.
Yeah, he actually narrates the credits.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, he just,
No,
when they
that's
come up,
me.
he's like,
Guys,
Sylvester Stallone.
That was James Earl Jones.
Oh, that's right at the beginning.
No,
he does the
Which
narration.
is so weird that he's just not in the movie, but like let's just get him to narrate.
And
The,
just like, yeah,
and
I
he's
have
like,
a
in the
feeling that was the
future.
time where it's like
Yeah,
every narration.
James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are we going to get to read this gobbledygook?
You know, at least there. Wait, did I miss it? Was there like a scrolling
There was,
text?
yeah.
Ah, no.
It was like
in
in
the
the-
future. Yeah, that's right.
Judges,
All the
blah, blah,
cities are one city.
Yeah,
a mega city.
You were in the kitchen getting chili, by the way.
Yeah, that chili was delicious. Judge Roy Bean chili made with Paul Newman's own.
He should have his own line of beans.
He should.
Judge Roy's
Roy
beans.
Bean. And it's like Paul Newman on the can. Dressed as his judge.
So it could be like
Next to a hanging
it
corpse.
could be like co-owned by like him and like Michael Bean and Sean Bean.
Oh, so it's like the beans.
Yeah.
Even though beans not even spelled bean.
Every
Whatever.
can of Sean Bean's beans you get, he's like dying in a different way on the can. Ooh, you got to get the very rare pushed off a cliff by cows
Maybe
can.
Roy Bean could be like hanging Sean Bean.
Yeah, but he was a bear.
Growing up, me and my cousin used to call him Scene Bean.
Scene Bean?
Because that's how it's spelled.
Wait, so you didn't know how to spell Sean?
No,
Well, Sean's-
no, I
it's-
didn't.
I called them all seen.
Sean has many spellings. That's the Gaelic spelling. My dad's name was Sean.
I know.
And everyone called him Scene. And anytime,
really?
yeah, he got phone calls, it would be, "Can I speak to Scene?"
Because every time I've seen Sean, it's always
Yeah.
Sean to me.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
See, I'd never heard that because it's just from like, white suburban Canadian, town.
Yeah.
I didn't know any scenes.
Sean would be SHAWN.
Yeah, that's
just
right.
Or
the boring
SHUN.
Or SHAW. Yeah, that's what you said.
AWN or
I'm just
AUN.
repeating what you said. All right, wait. Judge Dredd. Let's get back to
Okay,
it.
so who directed this movie?
Danny Cannon.
Danny Cannon. So this is like a young guy. I remember seeing his first movie called The Young Americans. It was like a really small, like British film. Somehow, I guess he was a big fan of 2000 AD comics. And
I mean,
wanted
he's in the UK. If people don't know what 2000 AD comics are, they were a weekly comic strip in the UK that I think has existed since the 70s. Like the mid 70s.
I want to say
yeah.
so. Yeah, it was kind of like heavy metal-ish.
Yeah, because heavy metal was French, metal
Right.
hurlant,
Yeah.
which does not translate to heavy metal. That actually translates to screeching metal.
But that didn't sound as good, I guess.
And so 2000 AD, its biggest star was this Judge Dredd fellow, a
Right.
fascist, dirty Harry parody. That's
Yeah.
where he started as.
Which RoboCop completely ripped off. Like that whole like style and tone and look.
Yeah. Ed Neumeyer's like, Judge who?
Yeah.
Never heard of it before.
Yeah,
Unless
so-
you're talking about Judge Roy Bean, my favorite movie of all time. We can admit it. Edward Neumeyer won the draw.
Yeah.
So this was, I suppose, supposed to have come out in the 80s, and then when RoboCop came out, it kind of beat them to the punch.
I wonder who would have directed it in the 80s.
I have no idea.
I think I recently read this that like Paul Verhoeven was given a bunch of Judge Dredd comics by Ed Neumeyer, the screenwriter, for him to understand what the tone of RoboCop was.
I get you.
Yeah. And so, this big, long running comic, and of course, Hollywood gets its mitts on it. What are they ripping off? Like, what was the hit that is prompting Judge Dredd? I'm sure
I
there
have
is
no-
one.
Yeah, probably like, I don't know, 2 years before that, there was Demolition Man.
Didn't Demolition Man,
Terminator?
didn't it flop? It didn't do very well. I don't
Demolition Man
think.
did pretty well.
Oh,
I
it
think.
did well?
Yeah,
Okay.
as far as I remember, I don't know if it was a big hit, but you know,
And so this movie comes out. A young 3-year-old Colin gets to see it in the theaters.
I was already working in the VFX industry at this time.
You were on that
working
end.
And
on
so
the
I was
RoboCop
really,
TV show?
I was really looking forward to this at the time.
But you never read the comics, right? It's not really a North American
Never read the
phenomenon.
comics, but I was aware of it. I knew of like Judge Dredd and Judge Death and all that sort of stuff because I had some British comics when I was a kid that advertised them, I think.
Yeah.
So I was familiar with it, and then the poster, the infamous poster, it would be all around Toronto on the streetcar stops on the shelters, and it would be Stallone's face and the Judge Dredd mask. But he was wearing. You can Google it; it's funny. It looks like he's wearing like red lipstick, or like
You guys aren't gonna get a close up of this, are you? And they're like, no, it'll be a big body shot.
He's got glossy red lips. It's really funny.
And so this movie, does it have its fans? I think it does, right?
Probably Rob Schneider.
Rob Schneider. Okay, so Judge Dredd, fascist super cop, movie opens. The only good scene in the movie, I would say.
Pretty much, yeah.
It gets right into it.
Yeah.
Where Rob Schneider arrives from. I don't know where he arrives from.
I think he's just getting out of prison or something, or he's relocated to Mega City 1.
Mega City 1, which is this giant city. Even though that the film never really gives you a sense that it's supposed to be like the size of like mass, like unimaginably huge.
They kind of talk. I can't remember if they mentioned it in the opening.
I think they do, yeah. That it's supposed to hold like 65 million people or something like that.
It's called Mega City?
Yeah, Mega City 1, because there's Mega City 2 and Mega City 3.
So you know it's big.
Yeah, that's right.
But you really only ever see like one street. And then there's like a flying sequence, which is like from that scene in Attack of the Clones, where they're on the flying cars. It looks like that.
Don't you mean The Fifth Element?
Well, I don't know who that is an insult to, but that's the only other. It's the only other scene where you're getting like the scope of the city.
The Fifth Element one looked
actually
fucking amazing.
Yeah,
looked really good.
Speaking of ripping off people, Mobius.
Yeah.
So Judge Dredd, fascist super cop. I keep saying this because there's not much more to this movie.
No.
And like what Judge Dredd is known for is that he's a hero, but he's also kind of a bad guy because he sticks too much to the law.
Yeah.
And that he never takes his helmet off.
There's no nuance.
That is the one rule of Judge Dredd.
Yeah.
What does this movie do 10 minutes in?
Takes his helmet off. And I remember I was telling these guys before the movie started that when I was in the theater and he took his helmet off, people started booing.
I guess that means that everyone in the theater was a Judge Dredd fan already, and not just like, hey, let's go see the new Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, probably.
Wonder.
I don't know at the time. I mean, they must have shown his face in the trailers and the commercials.
Of course they did, because he has his helmet off the entire time. But doesn't move. At one point, he kind of knocks out a judge, puts the costume on, and then his helmet gets knocked off 10 seconds later.
Yeah, he's
because he has to have the big reveal. Yes, it's me.
Yeah, and they have the
Dredd.
big, the camera goes around him like it does a 360 around him.
Who'd you think it was?
It's like, well, it's Sylvester Stallone.
I wonder if there was a version where like Arnold Schwarzenegger played Judge Dredd.
I remember it was
supposed to be him.
Yeah, I can't remember the connection with some other director.
Well, at that time there were
Paul
only
Verhoeven?
like so many like of these like big 80s action people.
Well,
you know.
And like this was a period in the 90s, Colin can speak to this, is that it was all about like futuristic kind of adaptations. I'm thinking of like Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, and I was getting that vibe from just the sets, although this isn't as obnoxious. I actually kind of...
I actually prefer Super Mario Brothers after Judge
Oh,
Dredd
really?
ended. Yeah.
No, I, as a movie, no, but I kind of liked the set design in this, like the production design to an
It's
extent.
kind of like generic Blade Runner, right?
It kind of is. It's very Blade Runner. And like you had commented, Justin, at the sort of intro, you see Rob Schneider's POV as he's sort of flying. He thinks he's getting located to this amazing apartment building.
Yeah.
With all these like babes swimming. He's like, yeah, that's my new pad or whatever. But it's like that sort of mid-period between practical and CG where
the CG does not look good.
They hadn't quite figured out how to mesh them together properly. So you get some really amazing model work, I think. Like practical stuff in this movie is amazing.
So that your favorite part?
That's going to be my favorite thing is the prosthetics and the animatronics. Like
You're stealing everything.
Whatever.
I got a favorite thing.
Yeah.
Armand
Asante, star of Silence of the Hams.
He knows what movie he's in.
Is that the part in do you remember in the Santa Claus where he gets the list and then the first name on the list is Armand Asante? I could be
That was one for the fans.
I'm asking Justin because you know that movie.
I don't remember the Santa
Well,
Claus.
I know you're gonna watch it this Christmas.
I am not gonna watch it this Christmas.
I thought you watched it every Christmas.
No.
Well, I guess it's just me. Well, it's on Disney Plus, people, so you gotta watch it now.
This episode brought to you by Disney Plus. Check out The Mandalorian.
I believe that's what I believe. It's a joke because he has two.
That's a good
two
gag.
Yeah,
See,
that is a
the
good
Santa
gag.
Claus is actually good.
What? No, it isn't.
So
I'm in trouble.
I like it. I'm in big trouble. But this is like the exact opposite of Judge Roy Bean, where there's so many good actors in these small performances. Here there are no good performances except Armand Asante.
I disagree.
He knows exactly what movie.
Yeah.
Lord!
He's
He
the
is
Gina
hamming
Gershon
it
of
up.
this movie,
Oh,
and
he
he's
is-
just like so over the top.
The Gina Gershon?
Gina Gershon in Showgirls.
Oh, yes.
Or
okay.
also the Dungeons and Dragons. What was it?
Jeremy
Irons in Dungeons and
yeah,
Dragons.
yeah.
You know, that's a movie I've not seen since I saw it in theaters for my
been a while for
birthday.
me
You
too.
should watch
Oh,
that.
But that's it.
boy.
All three of those are villains, and it's funny how
Yeah.
it's like it's almost like a free pass to be crazy and silly, and the people who are supposed to be the heroes are just playing it too straight.
Yeah.
You know, I while near the end of the movie, I thought like it's about like clones and brothers, and
Yeah.
it would have made sense if like Sylvester Stallone, if he wanted to show his big old face,
Mm-hmm.
that he should have just played the villain, and then Judge
Yeah.
Dredd never takes his helmet off.
Yeah,
Could
that
have
makes
been,
so much more
Rico,
sense.
and just make them identical brothers.
Yeah, Rico.
Yeah, so basically the movie revolves around the Janus Project.
Yeah, Janus
Janus.
Project.
Sounds like anus.
Yeah, it does.
But
Named after the singer Janis Joplin.
yep, that's right. That's how I said it. I never met anybody named Janus before.
So it was basically an experimental program that the judges came up with to create this like Uber judge. So they took like DNA from all the top judges.
Yeah, Max von
Max
Sydow.
von Sydow and Jürgen Prochnow.
Yeah, the
Prochnow.
German go-to before Czech Cario and Jean
Yeah.
Reno came on the scene.
Yeah, well, I think these two. I mean,
We
Max
need
von
to
Sydow
European.
is great in this movie. I think he does a good.
Yeah, I mean, Max von Sydow, he's always great, right? He
always
just
great.
shows up and he does his thing.
Pretty much.
Like,
True. He has a gravitas that somehow works.
Exactly. He's not playing it goofy.
Hmm.
He's playing it straight, and it gives it like a I don't know something
Yeah.
classes it up a little bit.
I mean, like the big issue with this movie, other than like the tone, which is super goofy, Rob Schneider just cracking one-liners. Also, Sylvester Stallone's awful one-liner where he's
Yeah.
like, "I knew you'd do that."
Or
which is what-
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, that's like what a 10-year-old says, right? Like
Yeah.
that is not a Judge Dredd catchphrase.
Yeah, all of his one-liners are terrible in this
Ugh,
movie.
awful. Is that it's a movie where it's like you're excited to see Judge Dredd, and then the movie's like, oh, he doesn't get to be Judge Dredd anymore.
Yeah.
Also, he's banished from Mega City 1. You're like, what? It's like
Yeah.
watching a Spider-Man movie, and 20 minutes in, he loses his powers. You're like, well, I don't want to watch that movie. I came here for Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then he's like in the Antarctic or something.
Yeah, exactly. and this
nowhere
is a
to
movie
swing.
that is filled with talking. So much
Yeah,
talking.
it is like what is it? An hour and 30.
136. There are lots of action sequences, but they're kind of like in these little short
me and Colin are
spurts.
shaking
No, there's one at the
And-
beginning and like
No, there's
One-
other
No,
ones.
there's one at the
I think
beginning.
there's three.
Yeah, 3 is not
There
enough.
might be more.
there's one at the end, one at the beginning, and then
There's the one where he gets on the cursed earth and he fights the cannibals.
there's
Yeah.
the motorcycle
I
chase
forgot
sequence.
the awful motorcycle
There's
chase.
actually like 6. Okay, you guys are just not paying
No.
attention.
No, disagree.
Well, I took a note of every time there was an action sequence.
Oh, okay.
No,
You
I'm
did?
just joking. That was a joke.
Yeah, this movie.
You made a list of all the films you've seen that have action scenes in them.
This is so much talking.
So much in like boring rooms.
It feels like 2 hours plus.
Yes.
Easily.
Yeah, the set design sometimes is good, but other times it's just like an office or the
Yeah.
locker room.
A locker room. You have a lot of like just leaden scenes. You want to see like Judge Dredd do like cool stuff and like prove that he's the best cop.
Yeah,
and he just
doesn't-
rarely gets a chance to do that.
The cool thing he does is he breaks out of the cursed earth, and then he
runs down a hallway.
Yeah,
That's it.
he runs down a hallway that's like an incinerator with Rob Schneider.
Okay, so my favorite part is the appearance of my good friend, the ABC Warrior.
that
who
was
is
cool.
A 2000 AD character who is not a villain, I believe, because he has his own series where he's a hero. He's this big, hulking metal robot. And in Judge Dredd, he's created through all animatronic effects.
Oh, it looks fucking
And he looks
amazing.
exactly like his comic book character,
Yeah.
and he looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks so good.
And it's like you see something like that, and you go, "Why don't they just do that now?" Because like
know.
watching it, we're like, I can picture this in CG and how it would have no impact at all.
I think what they would do, and like the one thing I sort of was keeping an eye on it, but they never show him walking. They only show,
No.
I think they only had one shot of his
Wow.
feet on the ground.
I never even noticed he didn't walk.
They never showed a wide shot. They would only show him from the waist up, and then they had one shot of his feet on the
What about
ground.
that shot where he's in the background, just like looking around, cracking his
Yeah.
knuckles?
He's it looks so
So he's
good.
moving, yeah.
But you know, me and April didn't even know, so it doesn't even matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be honest, like they had the CGI now to make it look exactly like it looks in this movie.
Yeah.
So it's like Would it really be that much more expensive to make that now?
Well, we've talked about this before, that the problem is like making the decision and you're stuck with it. And like
the design decision.
The design and the executives do not like that.
What they would do now is they would make it and then they would replace it with
it was another
with
CG.
another CG version of it later, which would cost them like 3 times as much and it would look
so
terrible.
much shittier.
Yeah.
That's what I hate about CGI is that it's created this awful mentality, whereas it's just like, we could just fix it later. We can do anything we want now later.
Fix
and then
everything
the
later.
more you do that, the less good it's going to look.
Make a decision.
It gets closer and closer to the deadline.
Nobody
and
wants
then
to
there's
make
no
a call
time
because nobody wants to be responsible for that
being
one
wrong,
thing.
yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
better to like postpone it so you can tweak it later in post, and then you just run out of time, and then that's what you get.
Yeah.
You know, I gotta say, there are like enough scenes of Sylvester Stallone's being that Judge Dredd character. There's like a fun scene with him and Rob Schneider, and he's like, "The law's never wrong," and like
Yeah,
him
yeah.
staying in character. But there just needed to be more of that, because like seeing Max von Sydow die, who cares? We barely know him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not in it very much.
Yeah, he should have had a bigger part. And Amanda Sante doesn't really get a lot of screen time.
No, and he doesn't even like do anything.
No.
Yeah,
I
like
guess.
his goals weren't clear. He just wanted to create chaos and
Yeah,
you
there's
know.
a great scene where he sees his ABC Warrior kill a bunch of judges. Then he takes a big puff from a giant cigar.
Yeah, he's great.
He's a very like mustache twirling
I
villain.
mean, this is a film that was famously like had a lot of problems during the shooting and in post production. The story goes that Danny Cannon on the first day of set was like, "Everyone must fear me." And
Yeah.
Sylvester Stallone. I mean, that's the story that Stallone tells.
Exactly.
Which, yeah.
What did he have the helmet on? He put the Judge Dredd helmet on.
And Stallone essentially like took control because Danny Cannon wanted a like a darker version of Judge Dredd.
That's right, yeah.
And Stallone wanted something goofier. Even though that like supposedly Stallone was like a big Judge Dredd fan, like read the whole run up to there. I guess maybe he just didn't get it.
That's
like,
really that's really funny to me. But because the tone is very different from like the British.
the comic is it can be goofy because it's
Yeah.
every week, right? So it can really be anything.
Yeah.
But it's just a bummer. Like Rob Schneider just screeching the entire time.
Yeah, but you look at RoboCop and like that's how you do it right.
That's
Like,
how you do it right,
that's
100%.
Perfect.
Stripped down. This is too big. And I mean, I'm guessing nobody was happy with the result. And
I
it
don't think
lost
so.
money, right?
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a huge flop.
It probably
Yeah.
cost a lot.
I mean, the cover, like the common poster and VHS box, wasn't even the mask. It was just Stallone like leaning over and
like,
like
shooting
firing
or
a
something?
gun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that could be anything.
Even the mask, you can see through it and you can see his eyes.
Yeah, it's very lame.
Yeah.
And the director famously said he'd never work with another big star again. Don't worry about that because you never did.
Yeah, he went and got an apartment with Steve Norrington, the director of League of
God.
Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah, it's the same kind of story. He was like abused, by a
star.
egomaniac star, I guess. Which is
Sean
kind of
Connery?
and I kind of feel bad for directors like that, where they're kind of plucked out of.
I heard Steve Norrington was a bit monstrous as well on set. Like
Yeah,
I've heard
him
stories.
and Connery didn't get along very well, but it's always like hard to say who's right because you're only hearing it from
Blood Tornado.
Do you hear stories about that happening now? Now it's more like these little directors have to fight like the studio and the producers.
But usually
they're
I
getting
find-
fired for movies. and
I
shit
think that like
that.
even now you don't hear about it because movies are an industry that like if you like rat, then you won't work in this industry again.
Yeah, they'll cover that stuff up. They'll hide it, like even like
Yeah.
they did with Fantastic Four with Josh
I was
Trank.
just thinking that
He's
yeah.
working again. He's like directing a Tom Hardy movie, so it's like
Oh,
whatever.
so-
Tom Hardy play like twins in it or something like
no,
that?
he's Al Capone.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's a
man,
totally
that
different
accent.
movie.
yeah. Wait for
So
that.
your dogs can wreck your Airbnb and you can still work in Hollywood
yeah,
a
and I
couple
think-
years
what?
later.
That was a Josh Trank story?
He trashed his
It's something.
hotel room.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, my dogs wrecked it. Is
Yeah.
that... oh.
Yeah, I think his dogs. tore
Actually,
the
I
most
think
part.
maybe it was a house he was renting or something
Yeah.
that the studio was paying for. Anyway,
What happens now is like you always hear about these sort of young directors. They do one movie, and then they're handed this massive Hollywood blockbuster like
Franchise
Colin
sometimes.
Trevorrow with Jurassic
God.
World. But what happens a lot of times you see now is they're kind of plucked. They're brought into the studio with like say a James Wan or Guillermo del Toro, kind of like overseeing them and
protecting them.
from
Yeah.
the studio.
yeah, that's good.
They're kind of mentored, which is a good idea because it's like they act as like the kind of buffer.
Well, I think, like studios often get those directors because they're like, we can push them around.
Exactly.
Like, we don't have to worry about, like, whatever their vision is because we're the boss at the end of the day and they have no pull.
Yeah, it's like you've got
really
talent.
sad.
Now we're going to tell you what to do.
It's like
for the
we're
entire
going
movie.
back to like the original studio system.
Yeah, you're just
you
pretty
know?
much a director for hire, and it's like, what does it even matter that you've directed anything before? at
That's
that point?
terrible.
Yeah, we can push Jean-Pierre Jeunet around on Alien Resurrection.
Yeah.
Oh no, what did we do?
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
And that's how you end up with these bad movies.
Yeah, which is the point of this podcast.
My final word on Judge Dredd: watch the other Judge
Is
Dredd.
this a new segment where it's like April's final word?
April's final word.
Yeah. My verdict is what you should have said.
my verdict.
No. Court is adjourned.
My verdict is watch Dredd 3D because with
Carl Urban.
Carl Urban, much better movie. I liked that.
Apparently, they're doing a TV series.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's with Carl Urban.
They better be with Carl Urban.
That'd be fucking amazing.
Carl Urban was on that show that lasted only one season, Almost Human, that was like kind of Judge Dreddy. Remember that? And he had like
yeah.
a robot sidekick.
Yeah,
I
that's
never
right.
saw it. But yeah,
His name was Bear.
I think it was supposed to be good. So did you guys like Judge Dredd?
No.
No, it's terrible. And
Any movie that at the end I'm like, I wish I was watching Super Mario Brothers.
Yeah, I remember it completely differently. I remember it being a lot more action packed.
I remember it being more fun.
Yeah, it's not
Even
at all.
when I gave it 2 stars.
Yeah, it's
I
really
was
bad.
like, I thought it was more fun. Like, I don't remember it being this leaded.
It is really boring.
Yeah.
Really boring. Mm-hmm. Not even the comic stylings of Rob Schneider can save it.
Yeah, go watch The Fifth Element instead and get the Chris Tucker comic style.
Not even the comic stylings of Max von Sydow can save this.
No. Well, Judge Dredd is available everywhere. We just rented it off iTunes. It probably has a Blu-ray.
Yeah, guaranteed. In like a Walmart bargain bin, you see it all the time.
Danny Cannon passes it by. and then,
Judge Roy Bean is on Blu-ray, and I think it's also available on streaming. Yeah, if I had to choose,
Court is adjourned.
Court is adjourned. If I had to watch one of these 2 movies again, I have to say it would be Roy Bean.
I agree.
Even though it was a lot longer. To be honest, Judge Dredd felt longer.
It felt way
yeah,
longer.
it felt really long.
Yeah.
So much talking.
So much talking.
Well, I can't believe there was more shooting in Roy Bean than there was in Judge
I don't understand why the
Dredd.
studios are not like, just make it 75 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, or even 80 minutes. Like,
Yeah.
it just moves so much faster.
It's not like there was a plot that we didn't get to or
No,
anything like that.
doesn't
They were like
matter.
trying to fill it.
Yeah, we kind of checked, I remember, and then you paused it. And
It's
it was
like half an hour
half an hour
It's like
left.
36 minutes.
And it was like, I felt like the story hadn't even started yet.
Yeah.
Like, it was just it's such a weird, I don't know,
Yeah.
pace to the movie. It's very strange.
So that was our Patreon Bad Movie Lottery winner. And in a couple of weeks, not Judge Dredd, Roy Bean, and in a couple of months, we will have another draw for the next one. You can get that on the $2 level. And on the $5 level, you can get a little bonus episode every 2 weeks. And if you want to email us, we're at nosuchthing@gmail.com. Twitter, at no such thing pod. And my personal Twitter is at April at Mansky.
What was last week's Patreon episode for people that missed out?
Body bags?
No, it was.
Oh, it was Midsommar.
Midsommar.
That's
yeah,
right.
That's
Yeah.
right.
We kind of talk about Midsummer and
We
The
talk
Lighthouse.
about Midsommar and Hereditary and Lighthouse.
Yeah.
Spoilers for all 3, but I've already been very clear about that. But if you haven't, go see The Lighthouse.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so how do we wrap this up?
You have to say your name.
Where can
and-
people find you, Justin?
They can find me at lots of places. I've said it before. I don't need to say it. I'm very self-conscious. Colin's staring right at me.
Really?
Important Cinema Club. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
With those fake blue contacts. Which is really funny.
Oh my God,
yeah,
Colin's
yeah.
eyes are blue.
Yeah, we forgot to mention this, but Armand Desante and Sylvester Stallone have blue contacts in this movie.
For some
I don't know
reason.
what it is about contact lenses.
They
Like
just look so
the,
bad.
the technology
The technology
hasn't evolved because
except for the Evil Dead ones.
those are great. Those are great, but I still see it in movies.
all the way up until The Irishman, they still don't look good.
I think it's just because you know what they look like.
You know
Exactly.
why? Because irises have depth to them,
Yes.
so light can penetrate them, whereas
Yeah.
contacts are very superficial.
They're
It's
flat.
just the color is on the top part, So light doesn't go into them. There's no depth. They don't, the pupils don't move. They're always like the same size.
Oh,
they can't dilate.
It's
or
funny
anything
because
like
you look. I don't know what color Sylvester Stallone's eyes are. But
think
you
they're
see his
brown.
eyes, and you're like, "That's not his eyes."
Just
Oh, yeah.
you know something looks wrong.
that. Yeah, they just have this very fake looking, and they have a big black ring around them. So does Armand Desante too. It's just like, which is so weird because they're supposed to be brothers, and they both had to wear blue contacts. Just have them
I
have
don't know.
brown
Maybe
eyes.
it was explained at some point.
It's
And-
because they're
Yeah,
like.
because Stallone was like, I want to hide Judge Dredd's beautiful blues.
It's because like their DNA is taken from Jürgen Prochnow and like Max von
that's right.
Sydow, these German blue-eyed actors.
All right, where can
We're-
people find you, Colin?
I don't know. You know, I'm on
What
Twitter.
an enthusiastic finale.
He's on
Sergeant-
Twitter.
Going out with a bang.
Oh, these movies
Sergeant
Killed
Zima.
us.
bored me.
Sergeant Zima, STGZIMA.
Wait, hold on.
ZIMA.
I'm supposed to say this. SGTZIMA. I'm on
Yep.
Twitter.
And-
Include JDCLOUX, letter J.
Not spelling my name because it takes too long.
You can't.
You can't
Are you
find,
admitting that you
can't
don't know how to
find
spell your
me,
own name?
APRALETMANSKI. And tune in next week for some holiday favorites.
Yeah, my favorite time of year.
Yeah.
And Colin gets to Grinch out.
Oh, what are we doing? Like
I don't know yet, but tune in
Oh, I know.
to the podcast.
We're gonna get a rush.
Tune in
a Christmas rush.
Perhaps. Tune in the pod. We might deck the halls.
Judge Arthur Christmas.
Tune in the podcast to find out. I have been April Atmansky.
I have been
Or,
Justin DeClue.
Judge April Atmansky.
I still am Colin Kennedy.
I still have.
And remember, there's no such thing as a bad movie.